Okay, it's recording. Can you tell us your name and the organization and community you're working with, and also why you're here at Rio Plus 20?
Right. My name is Nokhanyo Mhlana, and I work with an NGO called Sky Land Service Organization, which is in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. And I am also part of a movement called it's not a South African movement, it's a Southern African movement, and it's called Rural Women's Assembly. And I am here in Rio mostly to voice some of the struggles that we are going through as communities in the Eastern Cape, and also to create links and alliances with other organizations throughout the world that we can work with, just to give more power to our struggles, and also to highlight the importance of access to land to make food sovereignty a possibility, because without land access then there's no land to grow the food, and also to highlight the importance of women in the role of food production and food sovereignty.
And what have you been doing so far in Rio? You've been at the People's Summit mostly?
Mostly I've been at the People's Summit. I've participated in plenaries on food sovereignty, on minerals and energy mining and extractivism. And I've participated in the assemblies, which has been the plenaries coming together and sharing the structural causes and challenges on the different topics, and what the possible solutions are. And I've also been on the big march yesterday, and then I was at a little picketing march about 2 days ago, the Robin Hood financial tax. And basically that's to say banks, financial institutions, they have a lot of money and they putting very little towards eradicating poverty. So to actually get them to pledge to give in a little percentage toward this fund, and that can be used worldwide to eradicate poverty.
And so what does food sovereignty mean for you and for your organization and your movement? What is it? I don't know how would you define it, or how important? Yeah, how would you define it, and how does what kind of things does the community? What kind of things would a food sovereign community in the Eastern Cape do?
The vision I have of food sovereignty is where families, say a homestead, can produce their food. That includes breeding their eggs, breeding their milk, chickens, goats, sheep. They grow their own food, and for them to eat first, and then whatever else is in surplus, then they can trade with the community. And each homestead does the same. Say if I'm growing a lot of potatoes and the next person is growing a lot of onions, then we can trade instead of going out to the towns to buy that stuff. And then as well, that grows the economy of the place, because then the money would be revolving within the community. And on the side of the livestock produce the manure, which supports the growing of the food, and as well because families use animals sometimes for having ceremonies, then the family that's got a lot of livestock, more than they need, they can sell to the other families, and they can use the monies for sending their children to school or whatever needs that they have. So communities can feed each other first before they start thinking about feeding like outside communities, and the money revolves and stays within the community.
So are there any barriers or problems or things getting in the way of achieving food sovereignty in the community?
The greatest barrier right now is the lack of access to land and the land grabbing that is happening in South Africa.
Can you describe that?
Where
Yeah.
there's a lot of commodification of nature, where land then just the government and other private investors or departments will decide to use land, say, for a nature reserve, whereas people still need land for growing food or for grazing their livestock. Currently, you have a big issue in the Eastern Cape, in Xolobeni, in Bizana, where a community is being threatened to be moved to make space for an Australian mining company that wants to come mine titanium in South Africa, in that area. And the problem is, and the problem is not recognizing land as a source of freedom for the people to be able to live on land, and only seeing natural resources important to be plucked out. So I think it's the problem is where like how our governments how they view economic prosperity for the people, and I think that's where we need to do a lot of mobilization and advocacy, as well as NGOs, and to act more than talking, actually, like within the communities that we work with, to create a pilot projects to actually show what it is that we say works. So I feel that we also have a lot of work to do as activists in our country.
Can you describe the economic benefits of food sovereignty and land as a source of freedom, but are there cultural connections or to the land in the Eastern Cape?
Big time. There's a lot of cultural connections. Home is like land is very associated with identity. If one is being moved from the place that they know as home, then they don't know where they come from. And when our families and loved ones pass, they get buried in one place, and there's a lot of respect, and a lot of connection is kept between people that have passed us. So there's a lot of recognition that when people pass, it's their physical bodies that we separated with, but they continue to live. And so there are graveyards or sites are of high relevance. There's a lot of ceremonies and rituals that we do where we'll go and visit the grave sites of our loved ones. So when people get moved off their land, that means they get separated from that. So their identity is very disgruntled. So people stop knowing where they come from. And I've been thinking as well of the emotional trauma, because now in the community Xolobeni, where the people are being threatened to be moved, they've been told that don't worry, the graves of your loved ones will be dug out, and where we move you to, we will dig one big hole and put the bones there. And what I imagine is if your loved one passes on and you bury them, and you accept that, you start relating with them differently. You do not want to be confronted with their bones 20 years later. I don't think anyone would want that memory. I know I wouldn't want it of any of the loved ones that I've got in that community that I have buried, to actually be confronted with their bones. So so it's raising a whole lot of emotional trauma and hurt amongst the communities, and it's gotten to the point where the community, they actually are saying, if this company wants to come mine and our governments are letting them, then they must come kill us, and then they can come mine, because we will not move. So there's a lot of that, and families are being disconnected, where you find other people positioning themselves to be employed first when the mining company comes, since it's promising jobs to the people. So you have uncles and nieces and nephews that don't talk to each other because the uncle is positioning himself for a job and the niece is like, no ways, we don't want the mining. So where a community is getting disconnected because of like a huge rush or greed towards titanium, which is not going to benefit South Africa mostly.
So what kind of strategies is your organization doing to, I guess, to resist the mining, besides being here and telling the story?
One is to really connect, because I mean I was talking to some of the women that I'm here with here in Rio, and I was saying, yeah, for me to grab a microphone at an assembly in Rio and speak about Xolobeni is not gonna have an impact as compared to mobilization and advocacy that we can do back at home. So the one strategy is to really link up with the other like movements that I'm already linked up with and other ones that are interested back home, and to do advocacy and mobilization, raise awareness, so get like a really powerful voice within the country, even from people from urban areas, people from all over South Africa that don't even know about Xolobeni, and to actually expose the sort of things that are happening behind this opportunity that's being painted as lovely. And then the other strategy is, besides the mobilization, is to actually occupy the land. And I mean, I was thinking about it, I was like, it sounds crazy, but hey, like we just start growing a lot of food, you know, like let's produce sorghum. Sorghum is one of the seeds that is indigenous to South Africa, and it's not grown much in South Africa. Biggest supplier of sorghum in the world is the States, but it's indigenous to Southern Africa. So we just grow and occupy. And so let's say they come one day and they've been given this go ahead to come mine titanium. It's like, are you gonna slash food down to make way for mining? And I think that will really cause a big problem for them. So things that can like counteract this, like the mining with stuff that is going to bring money to the community and also feed the people. And like my slogan for that was give back to the earth rather than plucking, like taking from it. Like let's show gratitude to the earth for all the love and sustenance that is given to all of us.
Well, yeah. Do you have any final words? Anything else you would like to say, or maybe a message to people who aren't here, either in the U.S., where I'm from, or back in South Africa, about Rio or about food sovereignty? Any parting thoughts? Or?
Yeah. Well, my parting line will be, or message is. There's a lot of people in the world that think in a very similar way, in a way that creates light and creates a beautiful, healthier now and a healthier, beautiful tomorrow. And I'd like to invite all those energies to come together and work together, and more than talking, to act and to support each other on the actions that we take. And I'd like to call upon anyone who hears about Xolobeni and the mining trade, that if they've got means and power to support the struggle and the potential of the place, because it's really a beautiful place, and I think anyone who would see it would agree that even if there's minerals on the ground, let's rather leave them and develop and make the place prosper economically in other ways, perhaps like more support on the tourism, like raise the tourism potential of the area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.